Hello, ladies.
And of course, gentlemen too. I should have done a vlog last week, but I just didn't have the confidence to do what I'm gonna do now. Today, I'm gonna talk about games and game design, and I'm gonna talk about one aspect of game design, and that is replayability. If you don't know what that is, that's when you play a game and then you want to play it again and again and again. It's referred to as replay value. I'm sure you can all think of a game that you've played and then you played it again and again and again. I'm sure you can all think of at least one example. Let's think about it. Why should you do the same sort of thing over and over again? What makes it fun the second time around? The most common thing, not the most effective, but the most common, is the introduction of a scoring system. And the idea here is to provoke the player into trying to beat their previous score or their friends' scores or something. So the game itself is the same exact thing every time. Maybe there's slight variations, but the goal is to get a higher score than you did the next time around. And that's the slight encouragement you have, is to try and show that you're getting better. And another way that games do this is some games have multiple ways you can play the game. So you play through the game one way the first time, and then you can play the game a completely different way the second time. So games might have like different classes or different characters you can play as. And sometimes games take this to the next level where there's a different storyline. There's two different storylines in the game, and you follow them along. Some games, the story changes depending on what you do, leading to alternate endings and an overall alternate story in general. It branches out based on what you do, and you could experience the same game many ways, different times. Sometimes a game will be completely different every time you play it, but with the same core mechanics. This is normally accomplished by random generation. And so some games have a completely different experience every time played. All of the same core mechanics are introduced every time. It might be a dungeon type thing, and each room is randomly generated, but you still play the game the same way, except each experience is completely different than the last one, and everybody will experience it differently. This is some problems and things, but that's not what we're getting to. We're getting to things that make you want to replay over and over again. So if it's different each time, you aren't really losing anything. Games sometimes have a thing called unlockables, where after you accomplish a certain thing, you unlock something else. That could be a different character, a different, different weapon or something, or it could be an entirely different storyline, which we talked about earlier. But the point is, you have to play the game, and then when you reach a certain point, you unlock something that changes how you play the game again. And thus, the more you play the game, the more ways you have to play the game again. And so, if you play it for a decent amount of time, you'll start to want to play more and more and more. It sort of cycles. Sometimes a game is different every time you play it because you're playing it with your friends, and people add that element of variation that you can't get normally just through regular gameplay. Regardless of how good your AI is, your AI can never really, at least in this day and age, your AI can never really beat another person. So if you have a game that adds multiplayer into the mix, that's a whole lot of variation and different things you can do with just one similar game type, that all you need to do is just replace AI with another person. And a way you can get a lot of value out of this is if you have it networked, and a lot of games do that these days. So you get a lot of games that people buy just because of the multiplayer. It's not so much about the single player anymore, it's about the multiplayer, because the multiplayer is fun because you're doing it with your friends. That's fun, and it's different every time. There's room for improvement, there's balance. Multiplayer is a whole complicated subject, but the point is, it adds replayability because it's different every time you play. But sometimes, once in a very, very long time, there's a game that comes along that just takes you into it so completely that you just want to play it again because it was so spectacular, and it just, kind of took you in, and you just want to keep playing it over and over again. And that doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it's that certain magic that a lot of games these days don't really have. When a game like that comes along, it's a very special thing. And when that happens, recognize it for what it is and appreciate it, because that's something that's very hard to do. Anyways, that's it for this time. I don't know if this is a thing that people will enjoy or not, but it's a thing, so the end.